12 Septembers. You know, it kind of sneaks up on you differently, you know, every year.
A Kansas photography instructor recalls his September 11th experience. Kerry Conover was living in New York City when the attack happened. He grabbed his camera and started shooting photos. Sia New Yorker sat down with the professor and is live with her story. His story.
Cindy, Kerry Conover lived on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. The morning of September 11th, he ran to the rooftop of his building and started snapping some of these photos. He had no idea he was documenting a piece of history that would be seen all around the world. He tells me the images and sounds from that day are still vivid.
That's what I'll always remember, is that silence of several seconds before you heard the...
Kerry Conover says it's a day he will always remember.
This is a close-up, like a crop-in of, you know, the towers before the second one was hit. And I didn't see it at the time, but there's an airplane right there. And it totally is just the idea that the camera captures things that you have no notion of.
The photojournalist lived in New York City when the September 11th attacks happened. That day, he grabbed this camera, ran to his rooftop, and started capturing images. He had no idea the U.S. was under a terrorist attack.
The South Tower was hit, and I just instinctively, you know, click, 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 click.
Later that day, he processed his film and sent them to an agency that syndicated his photos all over the world. 12 years later, he still remembers like it was yesterday.
The days after, I see it much more in a black and white view, like the sort of candlelight vigils and kind of all the somber sort of tributes. I did more black and white, but the day of was bright color.
Even though he lives thousands of miles away now, Conover says a common thread bonds all of those affected by September 11th.
Now living in Kansas, it's much more like I think about it, you know, the night before and kind of think what I was doing on September 10th, 2001.
Conover is a teacher and adjunct professor. He brought several of his September 11th photos in to show his students today. He says they looked at them, talked about it for a little bit, and then went back out into the field to shoot.